Hey everyone, want to welcome you to our chat today. Again, this is not going to be a class, it's more of a discussion. We basically going to be talking today about the real estate market. It is currently October of 2022. My name is Mike Reible. I'm a licensed real estate broker in Maryland, DC, Florida, and California. Been in real estate for about 28 years. I've got my friend and colleague, Paul Pykosh here.
Yes, my name again is Paul Pykosh. I'm a loan officer with AnnieMac Home Mortgage. I've been in the business for over 25 years, helping clients get all different types of mortgage loans for the past 20 some years.
So we've been doing this a while, and there's a lot going on in the real estate world today. Obviously, we've had a lot of big changes with interest rates. A lot of news out there as far as what's happening and what's not happening with the real estate market. So get a lot of questions. Again, I'm a branch manager. We got about 150 agents. So get a lot of interesting comments and feedback. So I just want to make sure that, we're going to address a lot of stuff today. I really encourage you to see this all the way through. We've got a lot of slides, a lot of great material, and there's going to be a lot that will help you in your business there. We're going to have a lot of slides that we show here. I think it's important, as opposed to a lot of these crazy headlines you see out there, that you really know what's going on in your local real estate market, and that's what Paul and I focus on. We did a class back in May when rates first started moving, and I encourage you to go back. I'll put a link to that down in the bottom, but we're pretty much spot on. We did that with my co-broker Christine Gray, and we said back then, interest rates are going back to their more normal trend. We said back then, that was literally 6 months ago, hey, we're expecting, prices to kind of flatline. They might dip a little bit, but there's not much inventory out there, and we've been spot on. So again, we just want to make sure you're focusing on, don't get caught up in the headlines. Paul and I were chatting yesterday about some of the crazy stories we're reading out there. And when I start looking into these articles, a lot of them don't really have any references, or they're referencing month-to-month numbers, things like that. So we're going to try to shed some light on that for you guys today. Basically, these are the topics we'll get through. Again, we'll keep it moving, but I really encourage you to watch it in its entirety. Again, Paul's been doing this for 20 plus years, as have I. We've been through multiple markets. So again, I think you'll get a lot out of this that'll help you in your real estate business. This is a fantastic time. You just got to make sure you're educated so you can explain things properly to your buyers and sellers. And again, in that previous class, Paul supplied a lot of great information. First one is population's going up every year, every day. Yeah. You spoke to this last time, Paul. I mean, the households are going up every year. They got to live somewhere.
And a lot of that has to do with the people that are in the 30-year-old range, and that's the average time people are going to buy a home, and that population has increased. And they're not renting anymore. They want to buy. That segment of the population is growing, and that's just pure numbers. So the demand is still there, although the Federal Reserve is increasing interest rates to sort of tamper down some of the demand. But we'll get to some of the other charts going on, but it'll show that supply is still low.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great point. Again, and again, with that segment of the population starting their families, no longer wanting to rent, they're also entering the earning years. They're starting to make great money. Again, this is a great slide that we covered last time, and I reference this all the time. If you look at where inventory is over, all the way back to 83, again, this is a slide that Paul and AnnieMac had provided. The average inventory of homes for sale, this is nationwide. We'll get into the local stuff a little bit later, is 2.5 million houses for sale, going back literally, 30 years. You can see the peak there, right? The financial crisis, 3.7 million. When we did our class last May, I believe, the inventory was at 870,000. So I'm sure some of you out there are like, yeah, but that was last May. Inventory is exploding now. Market's crashing. So yeah, this is as of, I believe, about a week ago in a seminar that Paul did. As you can see where our inventory is. We're still at 1 million. Look back to 2019, 2018. Those were great, healthy years for real estate, pre-COVID. There's just not enough houses out there. And Paul, if you could try to maybe speak to how cyclical it is, and this graph is very
we were We were talking about this because the headline news that you might see will just take a real small segment of this chart of the last couple of months and show that there's an increase of inventory. And yes, that's true. But if you put that chart into historical perspective over years, you'll see that there's a cyclicalness in this. You know, the inventory changes based on the seasons. You know, the spring and the summer and the fall and the winter. It's a cycle. You know, more stuff comes on the market in the spring because people, you know, families want to buy their house before and settle before the kids start the new school year. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to have their kids start a school year in the middle of the school year because there's all kinds of studies that show that that's a disadvantage to the kid. The clicks and everything's formulating, and if you go in the middle of the school year, you kind of lose out on some friendships. So most parents want to get that done, taken care of before the school year starts, and that's why the chart is the way it is.
Mm-hmm. And again, so you can see it. If you overlay each year, it's the exact cycle. And to Paul's point, you're seeing a lot of this. Oh, compared to 2 months ago, look what's happening. So it's really important that you look at this on a seasonal perspective. And again, we're not trying to say, hey, the sun's always shining. It's a great market. We just look at the facts, look at the inventory, and this is what we really want to focus on today: is the actual inventory of what's out there. Again, we're going to have a ton of slides today. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to get copies of any of this. Paul's got a ton of great information that'll really help you with your buyers, sellers, and investors. So don't be shy. Reach out to us if you have any questions, or again, if you want to get any of these slides. It's important to focus on what's really happening with the inventory, but then also realize that obviously your buyers and sellers are seeing these same headlines. It's doom and gloom. Again, they want clickbait. These websites. Yeah. They want you sitting on that website as long as possible so they can sell you ads, or present you ads. So make sure that you're educating the clients, and that's what we're going to cover next. Quite a bit of information here. This I think is great too. It's again just going back to the number of listings and inventory. It's also important when you see a lot of these headlines, inventory is expanding, or these are the certain numbers. What this chart from Paul shows is that, let's just use that example. In 2016, 1.5 million houses for sale. 75% of those houses you could actually go out and make an offer on. They were physically available. Whereas you look over to the right of the chart, even back in April before we did our last chat on this, only 40% of the inventory was available, as opposed to the rest being under contract. And look where the number is now.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful when you're looking at these articles as well. If you're an agent, dig into it. Really look into the article. Where are they getting their numbers from? And are they talking about inventory or available inventory? How much is under contract? And then make sure you relay that to your buyers and sellers, because if you look at that chart right there, it's very telling. Get to the next one here. Paul, you and I were chatting about this. We want to chat about this. We're like, well, maybe I just wait and I just rent till it's a buyer's market. And Paul, if you can chat about this rate, what exactly is a vacancy rate?
Well, yeah. So somebody wants to go and rent. Well, okay. Well, rents aren't going to go down, the prices for rents, because if you see in this chart, homeowners that are investors, there's no reason for them to lower their rate for rent because of this all-time low vacancy rate. All the properties are being rented. So since we're at such a historical low vacancy rate, there's no incentive to lower rates. So if anything, rates are going to go up in terms of the cost of rent. So, and when you're paying rent, you're basically paying 100% interest. There's no wealth that you're gaining in terms of equity, and equity is the biggest driver of wealth in the country, historically speaking. So if nobody has ever buys a house, they're losing out on a tremendous amount of wealth. So it's important to get in the game when you can, and that being the case where it's a long-term play. If you're gonna move in a year or so, yeah, renting is probably the way to go, because if there is a little bit of a dip in price, it might be hurtful. But if you're going to stay in a property and your area or your job for more than 2 years, and you can afford to buy, it makes perfect sense to buy.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. So again, with rents and vacancies, there's just not much inventory out there for rentals. So you're limited in your options. So again, what we've been covering here is make sure you understand inventory is still historically low. We're nowhere near where the inventory was even in 2019, which is the last quote unquote normal year that I've seen, pre-COVID. So we're still short on inventory. Rent rates aren't going down anytime soon. Population is growing. You've got large parts of the population now hitting their 30s, entering earning years, starting families. So how can you use this? Again, if you're an agent out there, whether you're working with buyers or sellers, this is a prime opportunity to get market share. I talk with a lot of agents. It's weird. It's like half and half. Some are like, wow, the market's really tough right now. It's challenging. The rest are like, this is fantastic. I can get seller help now. I'm getting home inspections, appraisal contingencies, all the stuff that's part of any healthy real estate transaction. And they're pumped. So I just encourage you guys to make sure you really understand the market. It's a great time to be out there, and you need to be spreading this information to your buyers and sellers. And you got to put this everywhere. You want to make sure that you are the resource for local, accurate information about the market, about rates, about tools you can use to buy, things you can use to help sell. So again, whether it's phone calls, postcards, social media, now is the time to go on offense, guys. This is a great opportunity for agents. And again, we're supplying a lot of the information now. We're going to get into some more details that will help you. This is a local report from Bright. Again, I think this is fantastic. I just pulled this yesterday. You guys can pull these reports, email them to your prior clients, email them to your buyers, post them on your social media accounts. So people start seeing you as the local resource, and they'll look at this chart and like, that doesn't really match that article, that real estate article I saw on Yahoo yesterday. It said that inventory just saw a historical spike, and this is literally as of yesterday down to the house. So again, everything's local. This is Montgomery County, Maryland, one of our local markets that we serve. And you can see, again, even just compared back to 2019 where we are. And back then, agents were still complaining and buyers were complaining that the selection of homes for sale was so limited. But look where we are now. So again, if people are thinking, hey, I'll wait till the spring because prices will be down 20, 30%. I just don't understand where that mindset's coming from. You got to help, educate your buyers and sellers. So, reports like this go a long way. Another thing you can encourage people to do is, I'm just going to use an example here. We have KV Core. On our KV Core sites and our agent KV Core sites, one of the options at the top is, what is your home worth? A lot of sellers right now, like, wow, if inventory is exploding, like these headlines are telling me, is my home value going down with interest rates going up? Can buyers still qualify? Well, a great tool, again, you can email out at this point in time to educate your sellers. Like, no, the values are still there. This is a free home value report, the home price estimate, no charge. The seller just literally goes in there, or your prior seller, past client, type in their home address, click next. It says, hey, where do you want the home price estimate sent to? Type in your email address. It then says, hey, for security, your password is going to be your cell phone. Type that in. Instantly, within a minute and a half, they've got the report, and you get notified that a seller is curious about what their home is worth. Fantastic tool. On the buy side, I was talking with Paul and a lot of buyers out there. You guys know this. Well, maybe I should wait. What if rates come down? What if there's more inventory? Well, prices will come down. What are my options? And Paul shared this with me, so I'll let him chat about this tool. This is fantastic. So if you want to take advantage of this, again, no charge. He can walk you through how to get this for your buyer clients.
Yeah, if you have a client that is interested in getting some of this information, or if you yourself want to have a scenario run of whatever example of a property you have that you want to talk about, I can run a detailed analysis for you or for your client based on that scenario. So I'm using a $500,000 sale price in Montgomery County as an example, but I could use any property you have in mind. But what it basically goes through is it compares today what the rate would be on the sale price, putting 20% down, and then it compares the cost of waiting for what the rate might be in the future and the appreciation rate that is on average going on right now, based on the fact that we still do have a low inventory. Obviously, things can change. I mean, nobody saw COVID coming before it came. So if there's a a global crisis that we don't see coming. Obviously, a lot of this stuff can change, but in a normal market, this is what we might have happen in the next few years. Home prices still could be trickling up based on the fact that we're still having a low inventory. Interest rates could go up and they could come back down, and this chart shows some of those possibilities. But if you see the next chart, it'll show the actual cost of waiting, and it factors in the fact that your each mortgage payment you make, you're actually contributing to your own savings account, because you're paying money that's going to go increase your equity. You're paying down your mortgage, and it increases your equity. And also the appreciation rate is going to increase your equity too. And then it compares what the interest rate may be in the future. So it has its own calculus for all this stuff, and it goes and tells you what you might lose if you wait. So in 6 months, if the property appreciates and the rates change, your cost of waiting would be $8,300. In 1 year, it would be $19,000 if you wait. In 2 years, it could be up to $46,000. Again, this is based on what the appreciation rate, what the interest rates might be, et cetera. But I can tailor this to whatever example you have. But this is just one example we ran, and we can do more. But it illustrates the importance of not waiting, and how you lose out, your clients lose out on a lot of equity that's lost if they wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, one thing I want to share too is we just took 2 screenshots out of that report. Paul walked me through that again. He can customize it, put in the price point, the county you're looking at, and literally gives you a detailed report that's 4 pages long that has got lots of great data and graphics. So reach out to him about that. That's great for your buyers that are kind of on the fence and and those are realistic scenarios. You're not putting pie in the sky data out there. So at this point, again, I think we've kind of covered, make sure you really dig into the inventory, make sure you're educating your clients as to what the market's really doing locally, what prices are doing, what days on the market are actually doing, use that to your advantage, be the expert in your market, and really push that messaging out there so that you can grab market share. So now hopefully you've got sellers that realize the sky isn't falling. There's still, only 30% less homes that were for sale back in 2019. Rates have gone up. So what do you do? So now I want to chat a little bit about buy downs. This is relatively new for folks who've been in real estate just recently. This is a great chart that Paul gave us in our last class. It just shows historically where rates have been, and again where. We have no idea where we're going. We've got a rough idea, but again, the idea is that to keep your options open here. And as I'd mentioned in the last class, I started real estate in 1994. I was with RE/MAX back then, and I'd say 80% of our transactions for my first 2 years in the business were all buy downs. And if you look at that, 1994 type number, look what the rates were. I want to say they were around 9 at the time. So again, things have changed the way buy downs work, so I'll let Paul cover that. But again, that was a great tool for us getting buyers into houses. So I'll kind of kick it back over to him. What is a buy down? How they work? We'll keep it simple. We're going to probably do a separate class on the details of what a buy down is. But again, he'll cover the basics, but don't be shy. A lot of agents are using these for a variety of reasons, and I think you'll see it's a pretty unique perspective. They help buyers and sellers. So I'll kick that over to you, Paul.
Yeah, if you can real quickly go back to the interest rate chart.
Yep.
I just want to add at the very end of it shows the interest rate, and this is this chart's a couple months old. Obviously, our rates are above 5% now, so you can see that there's a spike in interest rate. We're in the 7s now. So as we head into the possibility of a recession, the Fed's trying to get rid of inflation. That's the biggest goal of the Fed, and eventually the Fed is going to win. They're going to bring down inflation, and when they do, if you look at the last couple of recessions that are in gray here, the rates were between 6 and 4.875 or 7 0.3 and 6.75. So I can see us heading back into that realm of interest rates. What we had when we were in the pandemic of the 2s and 3s is gone. That was artificial. We're not heading. I doubt we'll very seriously we'll head back into rates that low because the Fed artificially dropped those to get us through the pandemic. So if somebody tells you, yeah, we're just going to wait till the rates get back in the 2s, well, they might be waiting another 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's not a good idea to wait that long. So just, get everybody realistic about what rates are going to do. But as rates have gone up and the chance of the Fed, getting a hold of inflation and getting things back settled down increases, that gives an opportunity for what we talk about as a buy down. If you want to switch the slides to the buy down now. And what a buy down does is, as interest rates have spiked into the 7s, we have a tool that will help the buyers. One of the biggest concerns of a buyer right now is interest rates, because it directly affects their mortgage payment. So if we can alleviate that, at least for a temporary period of time, in this case, a 2-1 buy down. Basically what a 2-1 buy down is, you start 2% below whatever the note rate is for the first year, and then the second year is 1% below whatever the note rate is for the second year. So you're having a low rate of 2% lower and 1% lower than the going rate for the first 2 years. That can help a buyer tremendously. And if the experts are right, there's a lot of smart minds out there that are thinking that interest rates may come down in the next couple of years as inflation comes back down. And if that's the case, why not buy now using a temporary buy down? And then when the rates do come back down, refinance to the going lower rate when that happens. So you don't have the pain of taking a rate into the 7s now. So buy downs are different than they were years ago when Mike and I were doing them for clients, back in the 90s and 2000s. Right now, the way it's structured, a conventional buy down there's a fee involved for this, and it has to be paid by the seller. That will help the sellers move the property, because one of the biggest concerns right now of buyers is interest rates. And if you're selling your home and you say, hey, I can contribute to get you a low interest rate for the first 2 years if you buy my house, that's a big incentive, and it may even be a better incentive than closing cost help. It depends on the scenario, it depends on the buyer, of course, but at least we'll get some traction and attention to that home to help move the listing. But the way it works again is there's a buy down fee, and it's basically, I can calculate with that buy down fee on any given property that you have. But we have an example here of a $250,000 property. I think that's in here, if not, but yeah, there it is. But what it does is show what the payment would be on this example. Again, this is about a month old or so. This is when the interest rates were 6.5, but it starts off with a 4.5% interest rate for the first year. Then it goes to a 5.5% interest rate, and then it's fixed at the 6.5 for the end of the term. Again, that's an example of what it was when we first rolled out the buy downs. Rates are a little higher now, but the buy down fee is basically the difference in interest between the 4.5 and the 6.5 for the 12 months, and then the 5.5 and the 6.5 for 12 months, and it's got to be paid by the seller. But the buyer gets the benefit of having the low payment for the first 2 years, and the seller has the benefit of selling their home. That's very obviously that's their goal. That's important to them. There are some restrictions, credit score you need to have is 660, but all those things we'll go over in any given example. But it's a very powerful tool.
Oh, it's huge. I remember we were chatting about this probably about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, where, again, you want to look at it, it's helping both sides of the transaction. When you've got an environment where rates are going up, it's obviously affecting the buyers and sellers. I've had multiple agents tell me, hey, look, it's just tough. I'm having to requalify all my buyers to see where we are price point with the new environment. And I totally get that. So this is a great tool. And you would think, oh, it just helps them. But Paul introduced something unique. And he's like, well, I've seen a lot of agents that are advertising it as opposed to price reduction. So if your sellers say, hey, look, what if we drop the price? First of all, you got to give it time. I was talking with one agent, and she was like, oh, it's been 3 weeks and nothing's happening. But 3 weeks is not a long time. It's we got a little little spoiled with, you know, the recent feeding frenzy in early spring. But again, it's just another tool where instead of pushing those price reductions, instead of dropping the price $20,000, we were looking at some advertisements that listing agents were doing, where they're saying, hey, the seller will pay a $10,000 seller help towards a potential buy down. That's huge. That helps the buyer as far as, again, lowering their payments for the first year, so they graduate into it. If rates do end up going down, they can always refinance. It's part of the seller help anyways. So again, it's a tool that listing agents can use as well, and make sure we stress that. Obviously, anything else you can do to help, you know, market the property, but I see a lot of, you know, price reductions, people just coming out a little too aggressively. But again, just another thing to think about there. Again, we've covered quite a bit in this. We were kind of going back and forth. We're going to probably break these out and do each one in a little more detail. But again, please reach out to us if you guys have any questions whatsoever. We're happy to share any of these slides. One thing I would encourage you to do is reach out to Paul as far as the cost of waiting. That can be detailed right to your buyer. It's a nice report that you can, can you co-brand that report, or is it just come straight from you, Paul? Just curious.
Yeah, we can co-brand
more to the agent, if you're a buyer's agent. That way,
yeah,
you're generating a report that's specific to your buyer. Hey, these are 5 different scenarios. Just kind of shows some things maybe you haven't thought about as far as, you know, appreciation, the cost of cost carry. Another thing is your tax break. You know, some people are like, hey, they're just going to rent for another year or two. You're getting no taxes. And Paul mentioned, you're paying 1,000% interest, 100% interest. You're going backwards. So again, a lot of great tools out there, guy. There's a lot of opportunity in the market. So I'll let you close it out, Paul. But I just, you know, make sure you understand what's really happening. Our local market is still very strong. We have a housing shortage. We need more housing to match the population growth. So again, we're just trying to introduce some tools here. Make sure you educate yourself, educate your buyers and sellers, and take advantage of the tools. And Paul, I'll let you close it out here.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate the time in doing this chat with you. You know, AnnieMac Mortgage and myself, our goal is to help you increase your business and grow your business. If we can do things like offer the 2-1 buy down, you know, explain the cost of waiting, let folks know a little bit historically what interest rates are going to do, as well as some other our special programs that we've talked about prior to this. But I'll add real quickly that the buy now, sell later is a popular program right now to get rid of contingencies for people that have a home to sell and are going to buy. I could talk to you, you know, privately more about that, but we have done some seminars on this as well. But we have a lot of tools to help you. You're not in this alone. It's a scary market, but let's not let any of our fears influence the buyers. We want to educate them with facts. We want them to know that we're the experts. We're in this, you know, in this market, and we're serious professionals, and we're going to talk straight with them on facts, not headlines. So I'll close it out with that.
Great. Again, we appreciate everybody's time. If you have any questions, contact us directly. I'll put a link below the video that you guys can go back and look at our earlier stuff as well. But again, thank you for joining us, and take care. Appreciate it.
Thank you.